Hello, everyone. I am Elizabeth Barry. I am an author, a speaker, and a business coach, and I'm the author of the books behind me, which are part of the Kindness Innovation, the Kind Communicator, and Design Your Mind to Be Kind. And I have Jessica Weaver, who I just met. Say hi, Jessica.
Hello, Elizabeth. Thank you for having me. I know we just met, but I feel like I've been connected to you because I picked up your book way back last year at the Leading Women Entrepreneurs Conference. I'm like, Kind Communicator. I could probably use that in my life. And I don't know about you, and I love to hear how you got started with this, but I know for me, I'm pretty easygoing until I'm not.
Yep. Yep.
And when I have those very emotional, high-strung days, I tend to act out.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with the person on the other side.
Yeah.
It's always me.
On the inside.
And I always felt really bad after.
Yeah.
And so I took your book. I'm like, this must be a calling.
Yeah.
I just read it and I sent you an email because it opened up my eyes to so many reasons why people miscommunicate. Why we can't get our messages heard. Why when we're trying to help people, we can't.
Yeah.
Even with the best intentions. So thank you for writing it. It really is so enlightening, your book. It's an easy read. My daughter,
yes,
I have a 2.5-year-old daughter. She loves the flower pictures in the book. So every day I would read a few chapters and she goes, Mommy, show me the pictures of the flowers.
That's such a blessing to hear because I build in nature with all of my work, as you've read, and as you read the next books coming, it just keeps even getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But I want to applaud you, and I want to read to everyone what you said because I thought it was so beautiful and vulnerable at the same time. Because as artists, I'm a businesswoman. You're a businesswoman. You're a wealth advisor. You have two #1 best-selling books. You have a wonderful company, a beautiful brand, as seen on Oprah, Dr. Oz, I think all of these great things about who you are. And you just wrote this beautiful email. And I think that it speaks volumes for women who have all of these accolades and have a great site and have a great presence, but are feeling anxious on the inside. And they're too embarrassed to ask for help, or they're too embarrassed to use the tools or get the tools. So I think as much as my book is an inspiration to you, I think that you inspire so many women to say, hey, Elizabeth, this helped me in such a way. So I'm going to read everyone what you wrote because I thought it was really, really, it's worthy of sharing. Elizabeth, I just finished your book, The Kind Communicator, and feel in love with your movement of letting go of ego. I have to say it has transformed how I approach every conversation at work, at home, with my family, and with myself. I'm a wealth advisor, blogger, and author of 2 #1 best-selling books. With the women I work with, the only way we can get to the root of their problem is by stripping away the ego or the wall that they put up. They have to be vulnerable with me. After reading your book, I found the only way that they get vulnerable is when I start and I speak out and present and talk one-on-one with someone about sharing a vulnerable story and letting them know that it's okay to need or want or ask for support. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
So kudos to you.
As you were reading it, I keep thinking to whenever I have a conversation with somebody, and now that I approach it with the ego mindset, if there's ego involved, it's not a deep conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
very surface. Results. It's just like point A to point B. There's no depth to it, and there's no compassion and empathy wrapped around it. It's just, to get to that next level, or maybe sometimes to push somebody over just to get to the answer. And I think that a lot of times that's when the walls are up. It's kind of like going through an empty hallway, a conversation with ego, right?
And it's not a very interesting conversation usually. It's not very engaging or fun, or it's not something that you want to go back to.
Yeah.
It's just, you're left thinking, okay, I can give or take that person. It wasn't the thrill. It wasn't very exciting.
Yeah.
But when you're able to really connect with somebody and be vulnerable, that conversation, that moment lasts in your mind so much longer. And I think that is a really important piece, is that's when you want to work with somebody or to build on a relationship or to even build on yourself because they're making you think differently.
Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, we're all children, right? We're all childlike. We all want to run. We all want to hide when we don't feel good enough, smart enough, which is the ego pretty much telling us, especially as women, we're not pretty enough. We're not as advanced as that woman. But behind closed doors, there's so many other things going on that we pretty much don't know. And the cool thing about this is that I love talking to fans like yourself and women like yourself that are able to say, I read your book and I transformed because of it. And so I love how you also had the three-prong approach. You know, you said in my life, in my work, and in my family, you're using the Kind Communicator and going beyond ego. Can you tell us a little bit about how that affected all three of those areas for you? Because it's important to know.
I think it's really taking a step back and is this my ego talking or is this, you know, my honesty talking? Or am I upset because of my ego or am I upset because something deeper?
Yeah.
So, and obviously that happens in every way, even
every relationship.
every relationship. Yeah. And realizing, and I'm even realizing now, whenever I have rejection, right? We all have rejection in our lives, but rejection has always, when I look back, pushed me to, you know, kind of that next level. Yeah. But rejection to the ego hurts.
Oh yeah.
But if you look at it without the ego, rejection actually is really, really good for your success. It's going to make you stronger. It's going to make you more efficient, more resilient, right? It's going to keep building you to be who you want to be. So even just viewing rejection, ego without ego, can completely change your mindset, how you approach things, and your energy level too.
It's
instead of having so many highs and lows.
Yeah. You know, if you think about rejection, and I've been thinking about rejection a lot right now, and when you think about rejection, you want to look back to those stories of Oprah where she started here and here and here and they said no, 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 or Michael Jordan, they said no, 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 you know, how Steve Jobs didn't finish college, and all of the, you can go on and on and on about all of these legendary people in the world who started their businesses. I mean, I know Louise Hay started Hay House at 72 years old. I mean, some of us are thinking, I'm too old, I'm too this, I'm not good enough. But at the end of the day, that's just lighting the spark. But you have to be that in that beyond ego mindset. You have to be in that kind communicator mindset. And I always say this, and I want your opinion on it, because you read the book, you love the nature. I'm going to ask you two questions. One, the Kind Communicator, I tell people it's not about being nice. It's about learning how to speak your truth wisely and kindly. Like, what did you get from that whole experience about thinking, oh, the Kind Communicator, I could do that, but then you think it's so much deeper and there's so much more to it.
Yeah, it's not sugarcoating everything.
Yeah.
It's not about, you know, not confronting people about things or running from conflict or making peace with everything. But like you said, it's approaching it in a way that you can be heard. So that the other person doesn't put a block up right away or a wall up right away.
Yeah.
And even before we got on this, we were talking about, you know, there's people that come into my world and they want the help. They know they need the help, but they're scared to ask for it. They're scared or maybe embarrassed or ashamed because I work in the realm of money.
Yeah.
So they put that wall, but it's like, I need help. I don't really need help. I need help. I don't really need help. And even yesterday I had a call with them and she goes, I love that you're just real. Because I made a comment about having to schedule work around my husband's schedule right now because we have both kids. So I like that you're just real. And I'm not intimidated. And I think that's a big piece too. The intimidation.
Yeah.
If you come up and you feel like you have this big front up and this huge ego, people can't talk to me. No. They can ask the real questions they want to ask too.
Yeah. That's interesting. And from a business standpoint, you know, you have flowers in the book. The Kind Communicator, this is interesting. You know, this is my copy. I love to keep my copy out. It's like the old copy and has all the little notes in here and all the flowers. You know, as a businesswoman, as an executive, as a wealth advisor, it's an easy read. It's not something that it's not something that's pointing or so like woman strong. It's not like gay woman, you know, like those books. It's not like that. But as a business executive, reading a book with flowers in it, connecting you to nature, teaching you about the health and the wealth of your communication, how did this change you in your career just by connecting with nature in this super easy read?
Well, I think it's remembering to take a breath, and maybe it's even my daughter pointing it out and forcing me to pause on what I'm reading to enjoy the picture. And I think if we take more pauses before we react to something, it'll help us approach it in a better, in your kinder way.
Yeah.
So having those pauses to think, what is this really about? Is this about my anger right now? No. Is this about my frustration? No. This is about wanting to help somebody and to get them to a level where they're ready for that help, that they can shed their ego, shed their walls to get that help. So for me, it really was the pauses.
Yeah. The life pauses. Yeah. And the flowers are cool because they're all flowers that I took along the years. I never really want to put photos in that are stocky. In the next book, I have all of these birds and trees. They're really great. Now, how did this, now that you're into the Kind Communicator mindset, and did you do the practices in the book?
I did. I have my pink notebook here.
Oh, yeah.
I did. Oh yeah, let me see if I can find some.
I love it. I love it. Did
yeah, and my daughter, she was always right here is my baggage.
Yeah.
My trees and stuff, right?
Oh, that's
my
awesome.
daughter kept wanting to take my pen and write in my sparkly pink notebook. This is homework. I have homework too.
Oh, that is awesome.
I'm not one of those. I don't want to just read it. I want to be able to implement it.
Yep.
And then that helps me help other people do it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
The more I write, the more hands-on I am, the more it's going to stick with me. I don't want to read something and then it's forgotten. I want to actually be able to use it in my life and make it a change in my life. So, and I have to say, Elizabeth, it's really refreshing because in my industry, it's mostly men. I think 80% of advisors are men. And it's a very ego-driven industry. A lot of the advisors have egos, and I have a very hard time connecting with them. Yeah. But also my best friend who's an advisor, she works, I think, 10 miles from my office. And what makes the relationship is we're both very vulnerable with each other.
Yes.
So we're able, and by being vulnerable, it's not just about sharing the hard times, but having things to celebrate with, you know, earning more money, working with more people, growing our businesses. If you don't have a vulnerable relationship, you can't share that because everyone's going to think it's the ego.
Yeah. Yeah.
Coming out. But when they know you're coming from a place of honesty and they know the loads that you've been and they know what you've gone through, the trenches you've worked hard to get through, you're able to celebrate it so much more too. So I think it's the downs, but also the highs.
That's really great. And I love how you say, you know, when you're working with a lot of men, and whether it's men with ego or women with ego or just people with ego, I think a part of the teachings of this book and the takeaways is that when you're in a business or an office or in a niche that's confronted with a lot of people that have ego, that don't have the tools, that don't use the tips, that are coming from a place of when their father, you know, yelled at them for not eating their peas when they were younger, or their government or their societal views, or just corporate America being like, you need to be perfect and right and hit your quotas or else you're not going to do anything. And people are walking around like robots. Your breath and your awareness level just from reading this book and actually using the tools, taking the practices, makes you feel lighter even though life is stressful. And it allows you to have that lighter stride of life and share with others that are going beyond ego as well. But you're also having that awareness level where you're not confronted as much as people with ego anymore, because sometimes when we haven't gotten the tools like this, we're scared or we're confronted or we're embarrassed or or we think we're less than when we're confronted with people that are using ego, but then we realize it's not about anyone else. It's about how good we feel and how important we are in this world of business, life, family, love, and the impact that we're making on ourselves and our careers.
Yes. Yeah. And I love the legacy piece of it.
Yes.
How do you want the people around you to feel when they're with you, when they're not with you? And I think it can make the feeling contagious.
Yeah.
The more you spread it and the more that you act.
Yeah.
From a kind mindset, a kind
so
mentality.
Did you have any like favorite moments, like in addition to the breathe and smile? Was there like a chapter or a story? Because I know there's so many like little analogies, and there's so many other analogies in the next in its like second half. But were there any like favorite parts or things like that really like stand out for you to when you're in a moment of stress, you like go back to that part of the book or something like that?
The freedom, because so many women come to me with that goal, financial freedom, right? And so many times that money feels like the anchor that's not allowing them to move forward with their goals and their dreams. They really want to do something. They have the best intention to do it, but there's a disconnect, and usually it's not them, it's the plan or the approach to it. So I was just looking at my little stick figure of freedom that I drew.
Oh, yay.
And I wrote, I would feel more free if I let go of ego, if I'd let go of past mistakes, instead of letting them haunt you, just learn from them, then put them to bed and move forward. What else did I put? Being hurt, being embarrassed, people's perception of me. So letting go of a lot of that stuff, like you said, freedom. And we approach it the same way, right? What is our financial baggage? What is our money baggage that is weighing us down? And it could be a mindset thing. It could be your habits, your behaviors. It could be both.
Yeah.
But that self-awareness is the most important piece to move forward.
This is so beautiful. And what a great time to share a message with so many women right now who may feel like they're alone, who may feel embarrassed to think that they don't have enough money, or they might have gotten laid off from their jobs. Their husband might have gotten laid off. They're getting divorced. I mean, there's so many things that are happening right now in 2020, COVID or non-COVID, where we feel stuck and we feel not financially where we should be in our lives. And as you read in this book, I always talk about the second half of life, or living a healthier, wiser, happier second half of life, the life fulfilled. That is that when you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, you want to be in that prosperous state of freedom and feeling good and lighter in a stride. And if you're a woman that is watching this right now and thinking, I got to get the book, but I think that is I'm even inspired to have an offline conversation with you about my financial situation, to say, how can I maximize and not have any anchors moving forward? And I think that if anyone is watching, maybe I'll definitely put up a link for them so that they can contact you.
Oh, thank you.
So tell us a little bit about, as we end this interview, what should women know about you now that you have the Kind Communicator tips? How do people feel when you have that less of an ego approach, and how does that impact them and their way of spending time and investing with you?
I think the biggest thing is most women cry at some point in our relationship. Right?
Yeah.
and I've heard from women, the biggest thing, whether you work with me or any advisor, you need to be able to have an honest conversation with them. Because, we think it's one thing, but we all know that root goes way deep down in us, what the real problem is. It's so much further below the surface. And if you're nervous to ask a question, that's not a good relationship. You need to be able to break down the walls on both sides, the advisor and the person they're trying to help, to get to what is the real issue going on. Is it something that happened in childhood? Is it something that happened with your spouse controlling the money and you didn't know what was going on with the money, and now you feel a little embarrassed and ashamed by it, and And I hear this all the time, you know, I'm a strong woman, you know, I want to be independent, and I let him take the reins, or in some form of that. And the biggest thing is when you're trying to figure it all out by yourself, it's scary. It's a very, very scary place to be. And I hear it all the time, you don't want to make a mistake with money. You want to avoid the big mistake so you can get to where you want to go quicker, more efficiently and stuff. So we take a very holistic approach when we look at your money. It affects every aspect of your life. It affects your health, mental health or physical health. It affects our time with our family. It affects our businesses. And in the end, money can buy you stuff or it can buy you time. You want it to buy you time so you can be with your loved ones, so you can have more time to do the things that you love to do? Or do you want to just accumulate more stuff in your world? And getting very clear on what is the purpose of money in your life. What's that driving force? What do you want it to be able to do for your life? And ideally get to a point where your money is earning its own money and you have your own empire, so that you're free to go after the crazy big dreams that you want to.
Yeah, you can write your book. You do your
and my Money Empire program is to get your money earning its own salary, so you're free, that financial freedom to do what you want to do.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm so glad that you reached out to me. I'm so glad that we get to share this time together. I think right now, especially during COVID, is a time when we're all looking at our bank accounts and we're all looking at the bills that are coming in. And we're just thinking, well, how the heck am I going to do all of this? And then when you take the practices of the Kind Communicator and you breathe and smile and you take a pause and you realize that you don't have to work through this with ego, you can say, I'm scared, I'm embarrassed, I'm shy, I don't have enough. How do I have enough? What can I do to help? So this has been so beautiful. It's such a wonderful opportunity for me to meet my fans. And I also applaud you for writing to me and say, this book changed my life. It changed my work, changed my family, the way I feel about myself. I love the fact that I got to see some of your trees and some of the drawings from the practices, because when women do the practices, I had one woman tell me, well, when I did the practices the first time, I did them as if someone was looking over my shoulder reading my journal. So she actually reread the book and did the practices, and then she bought like a boatload of books for her entire company, because she was like, this is so powerful, this is powerful stuff. And I think that the more we tackle the opportunities to know ourselves better, the more beautiful we become on the inside and on the outside. And that makes us both wealthy in health and happiness, and in your part, more wealthy money-wise. So Jessica Weaver, how do people find you?
So jessicaweaver.com, that's where my blog, Not Your Father's Advisor, is. My two books, here are my two books here.
Yeah.
Woman, Stronger Assets. I'll get you one of them, Elizabeth.
Awesome.
And yeah, I would love to talk to anybody in your community who needs help. I know this shutdown has made a lot of people want to shut down with their money.
Yeah.
But as this one woman, I loved how she said it. She goes, I'm going to be in slow down mode.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great place to be right now, is slow down to reflect on what's working for you, what's not working for you. Before we get back to that fast track. Let's do some slow down. Let's really get clear on what's going on with our money. So again, we can make it more efficient. We can get it working for us a lot better and a lot quicker.
And be able to do that with healthy communication. Because most of us are
communication with yourself even, right?
Yeah.
How down do we get when we spend money we don't have, and when we look at our bank account, we get so disappointed and mad and frustrated.
Like you said.
Yeah, it's like, okay, let's set, as you say, let's set the ego aside and think, what's really going on? Why isn't my bank account where it should be, where I want it to be?
Yeah.
So thank you, Elizabeth. I had a blast with you today.
Thank you.
I'm so glad we connected, and we'll be in touch. I'll get you a copy of my book.
Yes, yes, yes. And I will post the information below this article, and I wish everyone a happy, healthy, prosperous day. And don't forget to pick up the Kind Communicator and both of Jessica's books, and call her if you want to learn about money. Okay, stopped recording. Whoops, sorry. I can, hold on.